Well, there's been a shit ton of crap about all this all over the news. And one thought I had is, what are they distracting us from? But what's really going on here? We're going to be asking some questions to address this. There's been a narrative established and spread by mainstream media, and that narrative is that China is the bad guy. That narrative is also apparently preparing us for war with China. How about that? And all wars are basically prefaced by a bunch of media to get people riled up and gung-ho for war. So what follows is going to be 8 questions and some common sense thoughts about this balloon. There will also be a very short clip from our sponsor. So let's just jump in with question number 1. Question number 1. Now here you got this huge balloon up in the sky. Wouldn't the first thing you'd want to do is get a closer look at it and see what this thing is carrying? How come we don't have any close-up pictures? We obviously have jets that can get up that high. How come there weren't any pictures of it released? Question number 2. What is the deal on these high-altitude balloons? So, a lot of countries launch these apparently. I asked her approximately how many are launched in the world, and she says like hundreds launched daily, meteorological associations, blah blah. It's estimated that several thousand weather balloons may be launched daily worldwide, and I'd be willing to bet that the United States launches most of them. So then I asked her about steering. Approximately how much steering can a high altitude balloon have? And she says, have limited steering capabilities, and their ability to be precisely controlled over long distances is limited. Now there are some little propulsion systems they can use to make small adjustments. It's important to note that they're not designed for precise navigation over long distances, and their primary function is often to gather data or conduct research in the upper atmosphere. So, if you were going to use one of these to spy on something, I don't think you would, on something thousands of miles away, I don't think you'd use a balloon. So the track on this thing, apparently, I don't know how they got to this location in China, but it just basically followed the jet stream. And we wouldn't even know what the jet stream was or where it was if it wasn't for these high altitude balloons. And it just happened to, cross the United States. They certainly didn't steer it there. And I'm sure that a lot of our weather research stuff floats over China every day. I mean, these things go around the world, right? So anyway, that is some info on weather balloons. Question number 3. Why did everybody just jump on this bandwagon and say this is a spy balloon? All right? And it was looking at our military installations in Montana, for God's sake. So I asked ChatGPT how many military bases in the United States, and she says, they operate around 500 of them, right? And, I mean, you could take a map of the United States, throw a dart at it, and probably hit one of these bases. And just for interest's sakes, I asked her how many military bases overseas, and we have 800 approximately military bases all over the world. So, was this a threat to, our security? Military officials said no, proposed no threat to national security. Even Biden said it was no big deal. Bottom line is, if China has satellites, if they're going to spy on us, they're not going to use technology from 1914, Anyway, so why did they shoot it down? We're going to get into that a little bit later here. Very interesting. Question number 4. Was this a hazard to airliners? I think they mentioned something about that. Well, this thing's flying at 60,000 feet. And it says here, I asked ChatGPT at what altitude do airplanes fly. She says anywhere between 30,000 and 40,000 feet. So, 20,000 feet is like 4 miles. So this thing's floating about 4 miles above any aircraft. So absolutely no threat to aviation that I can see. Okay, this is a real quick video from our sponsor, and it is DDAmanda Stock Screener and Scanner, and it's a really, really cool program. They say their core philosophy is to help you make money from trading stocks. I've used this, and it's really, really good. And people say really good things about this, like their testimonials. Um, you know, um, I love you guys. Yeah, I love the program. So worth it. Absolutely digging. They say really, really cool things about it. So it's it's a really cool program. So check it out, DDAmanda.com. They've got like an $8 a day trial subscription where you can check it out. They have a 100% guarantee on all their stuff. If you're not happy, they'll give you your money back 100%. They got one-on-one training and instant support. Anyway, check it out, and that's it. Question number 5. Why did they blow it up? Now, they obviously could have done something else. They could have just shot some holes in it and brought it down slowly. I mean, the jet can obviously get up that high. Why not just, punch some holes in it and it'll let it drift to Earth? If you've ever been on an airliner and traveled across the United States, it is like 90% empty. There's nothing there. So there's plenty of places they could have done this and not risked anybody's injury or what have you. Especially if you punch holes in it and it comes down slowly. And then they could have checked it all out. What is this thing? What does it have on it? Is it really a spy balloon? Is it just a weather research thing? Montana's basically empty. That's a great place to do it. But no. No, 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 no. What they did is they shot it down by blowing up the payload. Okay? They didn't aim for the balloon. They aimed for whatever was below it. All those, whatever the payload was, the solar panels, these pods in the middle. And they blew it to shit. They blew it to smithereens. There's nothing left, basically. So now they're, investigating and recovering. Look at this. It's scattered over an approximately 1 square mile of ocean. I mean, if you having to search all this and all you're going to get is tiny pieces anyway, I mean, how fruitless is that? So why'd they do that? Why did they blow it to smithereens? My guess is they had to hide what it really was. They could not have people find out or realize that this was basically just a huge research balloon, which, by the way, probably cost millions of dollars. I'm not surprised China's pissed off that we blew it out of the sky. So that's my guess. They want their narrative that it's a spy thing, whatever, and they don't want anybody to know what it really was. I mean, how useless is this? Look at this. You got the balloon and some spars. That's it. What's that going to tell you? Nothing. They already have their minds made up what it is, and they don't want to get confused by the facts. That's my mom used to say that. Question number 6. Why were we not interested in whatever tech was on this balloon, right? I mean, I did ask ChatGPT about approximately how much a balloon 120 feet diameter, that's roughly 3 city buses, right, could lift approximately 4,000 to 7,000 pounds. That's a lot. So there must have been some pretty cool stuff on there, I would think. They're not necessarily, spy shit. But here's one. They took a picture of it in Illinois, and it says, reveals potentially breakthrough design features for ultra-long endurance, lighter than air systems. I mean, wouldn't that be of interest to us? I would think so. Here's another little deal here. The key on another sensor. This is from one of ours, I guess. Ball Strat Olwell system, which dates back as far as 2004 approved. Designed to measure winds from aerosol backscatter. Pretty cool shit, you know, but we didn't care. We just blew it to shit. And why weren't they not interested in the tech? I mean, I would have been. And let's say it was a spy balloon. What? We're not interested in what kind of technology they're using or what they're doing, what they're spying on? We don't care? Come on, that's how arrogant is that? You don't even want to know what they were doing? I mean, it's insanity. Question number 7. Now we're really going to get into it, guys. Why do we want a war with China, or why do they want a war with China? Apparently they do. Uh, Look at this. The U.S. surrounds China with 400 military bases, troops, drones, and nukes in a perfect noose. Where have I heard about nooses lately? Isn't that a politically incorrect thing to say nowadays? Uh, and we're building more, apparently. Now, we're building more in the Philippines. I mean, look at this. Here's poor China. We got bases all around her. Look at this. Surrounding her. Could you imagine if if this was the United States and China had all these fucking bases around us? It's insanity. It's lunacy. Now, we're already at war in Ukraine. I mean, maybe we're not there, but we certainly are, everything else but. And we probably do have boots on the ground there. They're just not telling us, specialists, what have you. And we're occupying a third of Syria and stealing their oil and wheat. Look that up if you care to. And here's a thought. Did they forget that China and American companies in China produce like 80% of all consumer goods? In other words, can you imagine Walmart's being empty? Why would they want that? Why would you want stores empty? An interesting question to ponder, isn't it? So, anyway, war with China. Like, Jesus Christ, are you crazy? Well, they are nuts. We got a bunch of lunatics in Washington. Anyway, there's that about that. And last, we have question number 8. And this is a real doozy. What if it had been our balloon? What if China shot down one of our research balloons? Right? Here it is. U.S. government can use high-altitude balloons. Of course, this one isn't as fancy as the Chinese one, but I'm sure we have some. Here's an interesting factoid from history. Do you know what Hitler used for an excuse to invade Poland? You can look this up. There's this radio station in Germany close to the Polish border, and they blew it up, or they did something to it, and Hitler blamed Poland and for blowing up this radio station or whatever, and that gave him the excuse to invade Poland. So there you go, kids. That's the end of the video, more or less. I don't know, I pray for us all, because what's that song? We're on the eve of destruction. Christ.